Hi, I'm Sean Zerillo, and I'm joined today by my colleague and action contributor, Eric Richter, to break down the main event for UFC 265, taking place in Houston, Texas, the interim heavyweight title bout between hometown native Derek Lewis and undefeated Frenchman Cyril Gane. Lewis going for the all-time UFC knockout record at 13, but Gane coming in as a pretty big favorite, around minus 350 in the market. That's implied between 75 to 80% in terms of his chances. Know where I'm going with this fight, have my own thoughts, but first I want to turn it over to Eric. Eric, thank you for joining me. Give me your breakdown on this fight, who you see winning, and where you're putting your money on Saturday night.
Thanks, Sean. Big fight in the heavyweight division. Two big boys going at it, Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis. Cyril Gane is a Frenchman who was 13-0 as a Muay Thai fighter in the past. Now he is converted over to mixed martial arts, or he's found a home at American Top Team. Gane is 21-0 in his career, so he has never been beat as a professional. He features an excellent lead jab where he uses his footwork to move around his opponent inside the octagon and really give his opponents a hard time to hit him. So he uses that strong jab and his body shots, and his results have been fantastic. He's 5-0 in the UFC. He has one win by submission via heel hook, 3 unanimous decision wins, and a KO of Junior Dos Santos. This fight should be interesting for Lewis. He's mostly just got that overhand right. He's got a big size advantage, which will make Gane pretty fearful of getting in too close with him. I would expect him to use that the cage size to his advantage with his footwork. As Sean had pointed out in a prior post on the Action Network MMA page, octagon size is very important in Houston, Texas. Right now, you are using the full 30-foot octagon, and the UFC Apex Center, when Gane fought Alexander Volkov, it was a smaller 23-foot octagon. So this should very much help Gane move around his opponent and out jab and out strike Lewis. But Lewis is always going to be a threat with knockouts. As you said, he's going for the record for knockouts in the UFC. So should be interesting. I favor Gane here. He should have a grappling advantage with his American Top Team background. He landed 2 takedowns against Rosenstruck. He looked great. And Alexander Volkov is one of the best strikers in the UFC at heavyweight. So expect Gane to really show off here as a minus 375 favorite, as the much more technical, experienced striker, especially with his 21-0 background. Kind of reminds me of Israel Adesanya, the way that he came into the UFC with that serious striking background. Interested to see what you think about that, Sean, that comparison.
Yeah, Gane is just so unbelievably freakishly athletic, especially for the heavyweight division. The way he can move, he almost moves like a welterweight. That jab, those range weapons, those teep kicks up the middle, just so sharp and going to frustrate Lewis to a significant degree. I think Lewis could be hurt to the body, and that's really where Gane is going to take over. Now, in the early stages, Lewis obviously possesses all the power, but this is not a 3-round fight. This is a 5-round fight. In a 3-round fight, I could see Derek Lewis potentially stealing a decision. It's not going to happen in a 5-round fight. Gane is going to have way too much volume for him from the outset, and eventually it's going to completely wane on Lewis. We've seen him almost give up in the late stages against Mark Hunt after getting hit to the body, tried to attempt a flying knee, and then just kind of doubled over and quit. So don't think Lewis has 5-round cardio. Gane wants to go all day. He's just such an anomaly. Lewis is as a hitter. 1 punch is all it takes to put anybody out. Haven't seen Gane go against anybody with this level of power. So those things are what you have to consider. Gane, though, just such a defensive master, such a sharp striker with those range weapons. I think he's really just going to frustrate Derek Lewis and eventually accumulate damage to that body. Maybe eventually put him down in the later rounds. We shall see. Eric, like I mentioned, I already have my pick on this fight. I think I have a pretty good angle on it, too. I think there's a good way to play Derek Lewis as well. Are you going with the underdog Lewis, or is your money finding its way to back Cyril Gane on Saturday?
I would love to jump in here and say Derek Lewis, 1st-round knockout, plus 1,500. The reality is, though, that Gane has been there and done that. He has fought way better strikers than Derek Lewis, more technical. The only thing that I could see is Derek Lewis just charges in, hits him with the right hand, maybe he goes out. but that's not as likely as a scenario as I see Gane really using his footwork, using that cage size to his advantage. As you had pointed out in a past article on the Action Network, decisions are 12% more common in the bigger cage than in the smaller cage. This is the bigger cage. Gane has only lost one round in his UFC career when it has gone to decision. Alexander Volkov, he 50-45 on every scorecard besides one, who had it 49-46. And then when he fought with Rosenstruck, he was 50-45 across the board. 50-45 meaning he won all 5 rounds. So that fight wasn't particularly, none of those fights were particularly close. He unanimous decision Tanner Bozier 30-26 on every card, and a 3-round fight against Tanner Bozier. So Gane doesn't really lose rounds is pretty much the point. So if he doesn't lose rounds and he's hard to hit and he uses his striking and his length and his athleticism to his advantage, should be pretty easy pickings. Obviously, he's going to be in Houston, and I would say that he's going to keep his distance throughout the fight. Derek Lewis will probably stand there trying to counter strike, and the fans are going to boo. And they're going to be upset that Gagne's not going to try to get into an all-out war with Derek Lewis, but why would he? So if he's not going to get into an all-out war with Derek Lewis, the fans are going to hate it. But at the end of the day, Gane is going to go looking for a victory. The way that I'm betting this fight is by unanimous decision. So Gane by decision outright is plus 160 on PointsBet. However, I will take unanimous decision at plus 300. Like I said, he has not lost, or he's only lost one round in his 3 decision victories. He could pull off a submission if he chooses to grapple with Derek Lewis. I do think the most likely outcome is that he outpoints him, uses his jab to effectiveness, and a hard body shots that will make Derek Lewis tire, and then Gane will just cruise to a decision victory. Plus 300 by unanimous decision on PointsBet and DraftKings. I think that's an excellent play, especially when you're looking at a minus 375 favorite to get a win condition at plus 300. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I don't dislike it at all. I actually show some value on Gane to win by decision myself, but I found a slightly different way to play this fight. Now, here's my very important point. I'm not betting Lewis, but if you are a Lewis bettor, don't take that money line at plus 280. You can get him to win by knockout at plus 400. I make a knockout around 90% of his win condition. Frankly, I don't get the disagreement in that odds assessment whatsoever. I don't understand how you get plus 280 on the money line for Lewis and plus 400 by knockout. Just take the knockout line. That is the vast majority of his win condition. Should probably be closer to plus 350, plus 325, in my opinion. Now, how I'm playing this fight, I think, as I mentioned, that Lewis might tire in the later rounds, regardless of however much he gets hit. But I do think he's going to take a bunch of kicks to the body, a bunch of strikes to the body. Gone really good at working to all 3 levels in the striking game. So elusive. There's going to be opportunities for Lewis to hit him and close the show, but there's not going to be too many. This fight against Rosenstruck, Gane only absorbed about 20% of head strike attempts, so very good at moving his head and getting out of the way. Just kind of moves all over the place, dips in and out. Has a slight reach advantage here too, so I think he just kind of picks apart at Lewis. You mentioned he's won all but one of his rounds in the UFC. He's going to dominate the minutes in this fight. That's largely what happens with Derek Lewis fights. He's losing until the moment that he lands and wins. Saw it against Alexander Volkov, was down by about 80 significant strikes in the 3rd round. It was the 2nd largest comeback ever in UFC history based on strike differential. Recorded a late knockout. Got pieced up by a wrestler in Curtis Blades in his last fight on the feet in the 1st round. Outstruck about 24-5 in the 1st round. Landed a big uppercut to start round 2. So I expect Gane to absolutely dominate the minutes in this fight. I think he eventually wears Derek Lewis down. Thought about Gane around 4-5 decision prop. That was around plus 150, but I saw at PointsBet they're offering Gane and over 2.5 rounds at plus 116. I think that's the perfect way to play this fight. I think that's most of his win condition here. Could certainly catch Derek Lewis early to the body and hurt him and maybe put him down with a liver shot. But I think it's more of an accumulation of damage that he secures throughout the fight. Could win a decision, certainly. Don't think Derek Lewis is making it to the final bell. Expecting a Gane round 4, round 5 stoppage. If you want to take long shot stabs on those props, certainly by all means go ahead. But Gane in the over 2.5 rounds, plus 116 at PointsBet. That's my play. Eric is going with the unanimous decision for Gane at plus 300. think that's a fine play too. You just may be sweating Lewis at the end of the fight. That'll do it for us for now. You can check out my full fight card on actionnetwork.com for UFC 265. Eric also has some fight previews up there as well, in addition to our staff favorite bets that we put up with our colleague Billy Ward. Make sure to check all of those out. Download the Action Network app. You can enter all of your picks for UFC 265. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, best of luck.